One of our most powerful builds over the last year has been our Lord of Thunder build. Birthed at the beginning of the season of Plunder when Arc 3.0 came along and made Titans the most powerful class thanks to Storm Grenades and Heart of Inmost Light, combined with the Titan Touch of Thunder aspect. Now, our Storm Grenades back then were dealing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of damage, and with Heart of Inmost Light, we were getting our grenade back before the first one even ended, allowing us to melt content, melt champs, melt bosses, basically for free, as those grenades would track for us. Now fast forward 6 months later, and not only have Storm Grenades been hit with multiple nerfs, but so has our precious Heart of Inmost Light. Now the question we want to answer today is Lord of Thunder still viable in Season 20 and beyond? Now we've updated the build just for you, changed some things around, but this is definitely still Lord of Thunder. So right off the bat, we've made a few changes with this build. The very original build had us using Seismic Strike because it can blind large groups of enemies. Then soon after, we started using the new Thunderclap melee because of its range and damage. Now technically it's still up to you which one you want to go with, but Seismic Strike now has the ability to stun unstoppable champions, as they are now stunned by blind effects, giving you another reason to run Seismic Strike over Thunderclap. Again, at the end of the day, it doesn't make or break the build, so completely up to you. Now you also might want to change off of Thruster. Granted, I know it's great for Heart of Inmost Light, but barricades are also really nice, especially in higher end difficulty where you can get melted very fast. Not having a barricade to toss up when you need one really sucks. But for our grenade, this is by far the biggest change. Guys, no more Storm Grenades. They've been replaced. Pulse Grenades are the new damage dealing meta when it comes to our Arc Grenades. Also, they help with ability regeneration. More on that in a second. Now you can use whatever super you like here, but first let's take a look at the damage numbers for both our Pulse and Storm Grenades with Touch of Thunder, Spark of Magnitude, Spark of Shock, as well as Empowered ×2 from Heart of Inmost Light. So against Carl here, Storm Grenades deal around 190,000 damage, whereas Pulse Grenades deal 205,000 damage. So Storm Grenades have essentially been surpassed in damage by Pulses, thanks to the nerfs to Storm Grenades, and of course the 20% damage buff that Pulse Grenades got at the beginning of this season. Now with this difference in damage, plus the fact that Pulse Grenades periodically generate Onyx Traces, which feed into our ability regeneration, this is the reason we're switching grenades here. Anything to help counter the nerf that Heart of Inmost Light got at the beginning of Lightfall is what's going to be prioritized, and that's what's going to really make this build the juggernaut that it once was. Now back to the build. Our aspects and fragments haven't changed at all. We're still sticking with Touch of Thunder. That way our Pulse Grenades will feed us Onyx Traces for our ability regeneration. And Knockout is just overall a better choice over Juggernaut, especially here inside of PvE. Knockout makes it so that when we critically wound a target or break their shield, your melee attacks are infused with Arc Energy. And you also have increased melee range and damage for a short duration. Again, not something you want to do against a champion, but against ads that are just pushing you, Knockout is fantastic. Defeating targets with melee attacks also trigger health regeneration and make you amplified. Now for our fragments, we have Spark of Shock, which will make our Pulse Grenades jolts. Spark of Magnitude, which increases the duration of our grenade. And Spark of Amplitude will generate an orb of power when we get rapid kills while amplified. You're seeing the gameplay loop here, guys. And Spark of Discharge, which gives our arc weapon Final Blows the chance to create Onyx Traces. Now our exotic weapon of choice remains the same as our original build, as that would require us to change the name. Lord of Thunder definitely wouldn't work without, well, Thunderlord. But guys, this season, Thunderlord is a fantastic choice. I don't know if you've seen people, but even during the day one raid of Root of Nightmares, a lot of people were using Thunderlord, literally melting Nezareth. Thunderlord comes with the perk Lightning Rounds, where this weapon fires faster and more accurately the longer the trigger is held down. And continuous damage generates stunning lightning strikes. Not only that, but it comes with an intrinsic trait, Rain Havoc, where final blows with this weapon also generate stunning lightning strikes from above. This is strong against overload champions, intrinsically, guys. And if you have the Catalyst, which we highly recommend you having, every time you cause a lightning strike with the weapon, the mag gets partially refilled from reserves. Bungie dialed this weapon up to 11 this season. I know we're not exactly in an Arc Surge environment, but Thunderlord still slaps. And thanks to Spark of Discharge, it can also create Onyx Traces as well. It has come a long way from being the first exotic we ever seen in Destiny back during that D1 gameplay reveal. Now we're going to speed through our exotic armor piece section, as most of you know what Heart of Inmost Light does now. It comes with the perk Overflowing Light, where using an ability empowers the other two abilities. Empower means abilities have faster regeneration, melees and grenades do more damage, and barricades have more hit points. Now the nerf to Heart of Inmost Light that dropped with Lightfall reduced the duration of empowered abilities in PvE to 5 seconds. This is down from 10 seconds, which is a whopping nerf. They also reduced bonus class ability regeneration while empowered to 25% per stack in both PvE and inside of PvP. And this is down from 150% and 38% respectively. Now this change is intended to decrease how how easy it is to get and maintain ×2 empowerment bonuses inside of PvE, as well as reduce the total amount of bonus ability energy provided. Now the goal is for Heart of Inmost Light to remain strong in ability focused builds while giving room for other exotics to shine as well. Honestly though, this is a big nerf, and you can very easily see a change in ability regeneration when using Heart of Inmost Light. However, with the new mod system in place, we've tried our best to reduce ability cooldowns and buff ability uptime in order to get Heart of Inmost Light back to feeling how it used to feel. Now before we jump into the armor mods, you'll want a few artifact perks here. Authorized mods grenades for reduced energy costs for grenade mods. Volatile flow is always a good choice to have, especially when you combine it with bricks from beyond. You can literally rock a void energy weapon and provide yourself heavy ammo. On top of that, volatile rounds stun barrier champions. Now for our armor mods, in our helmet we have 2 Ashes assets for super regeneration on grenade final blows, as well as harmonic siphon so that we can generate orbs on rapid Thunderlord kills, which is super easy to do. In our gloves we have firepower so that our grenade kills generate orbs, momentum transfer, which reduces our melee cooldown when we cause damage with a grenade, and bolstering detonation, which grants class ability energy when we cause damage with a grenade. Now for our chest piece, really you can just socket whatever you want here, guys. Harmonic reserves, so you can hold more Thunderlord ammo. You can also slide in resist mods, completely up to you. Now in our boots, we have recuperation to help us stay alive when scooping up those orbs, innervation for our grenade energy on orb pickup, and absolution, which gives us energy for all of our abilities when we pick up an orb. Lastly, in our class item, we have outreach, which will reduce our melee cooldown when using our class ability, as well as 2 bomber mods, which reduces our grenade cooldown when using our class ability as well. Again, you're going to want to prioritize resilience and recovery here. Don't worry about ability or super regeneration. Now the gameplay loop here is simple, and it's always been with Heart of Inmost Light. The nerf to it has made things a bit more restricted, as you won't have ×2 to all of your abilities up at all times. So you have to use your abilities in the order that will buff what you want buffed the most. In this case, you want those pulse grenades buffed the most. So you use your class ability, then your melee, then grenade, since it'll be empowered ×2 for 5 seconds after you use your other 2 abilities. When anything is empowered, those abilities will have increased regeneration, added onto the regeneration reduction they'll be getting from our mods bolstering detonation, bomber, outreach, momentum transfer, etc. Now grenade kills and rapid kills with Thunderlord will generate orbs thanks to firepower, harmonic siphon, and spark of amplitude, and they'll both generate ionic traces because of touch of thunder and spark of discharge, all of which feeds into your ability energy on top of everything else, because that's what ion and traces do, while absolution and innervation gives energy to your abilities from orbs. Now I know we're not necessarily consuming armor charges with this build, and I'm going to briefly talk about that, but we actually have a breakdown video coming soon about old mods versus armor charge mods. But essentially guys, if you do want to take advantage of all those armor charges you're picking up, you can slot in things like emergency reinforcement, just in case you get weak and you're about to die. Boom, it's essentially like protective light. Or you can slot in a surge mod and take advantage of increased damage there for Lord of Thunder. Now I know a lot of people are going to ask, Cross, but what about grenade kickstart or melee kickstart? Aren't those mods really good? I like those mods whenever you are specifically targeting one ability, but considering we're going to be utilizing class abilities, melees, grenades, we're cycling through a whole bunch of things. Personally guys, I like these various different mods that feed into each other. Again though, here soon we're going to have a video breaking down all of these mods, or most notably our old mods versus our armor charge mods. But for this build, the loop here is essentially to use all of your abilities so that you're always getting your grenades to empower ×2, you're generating orbs and ionic traces, you're picking those up, you're popping your super when you get it because it's regenerating faster thanks to Ashes to assets, rinse and repeat. Simultaneously, you're firing off Thunderlord when you're hitting high health targets. That combined with empowered pulse grenades can do some serious damage. And if you want to rock Seismic Strike, you can also stun unstoppable champions, or you can just utilize Thunderclap to kind of create some range from you and your targets. Keep in mind though guys, you can still proc empowered with just a base melee, so it doesn't have to be a fully charged melee. And if you happen to be rocking a void weapon, whether it's funnel web or something else, that with volatile rounds and bricks from beyond, you're going to be creating a lot of ammo for yourself and your teammates. You pretty much got all 3 champions covered for your team. So guys, this build is not dead. It's very much as potent as it's always been. It has stood the test of time and the nerfs Bungie has thrown at it. We're not saying it's as good as it used to be, as Heart of Inmost Light definitely got nerfed, but it's still a contender and a build that you can rock without feeling weak or nerfed to the ground. Arc Titans stand strong. We're not out of this yet. Bungie will have to pry Heart of Inmost Light out of our cold dead hands to get us to stop using it, or I guess they can nerf it to oblivion. So there is that. Guys, dim the link down below if you want to check it out. And again, we have a number of other builds, so feel free to check out our entire playlist of builds. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.